welcome to the Handy Randy Show. Now, I have warned you before, if it makes noise, if there's smoke comes out of the exhaust, we're going to be there. And no exceptions today. We're at, looks like it used to be the Harbor Inn.
Right,
Harbor on Tap.
Harbor on Tap.
And I'm with Gil. You are the director this year of this event. Tell us what we're here for.
Well, this is our 39th Portage Lakes annual Antique and Classic Boat Show. It's one of the oldest shows in the country, and it still is just like brand new to many of these folks. We're so happy that a lot of these boats are just freshly restored. A lot of our members are still getting into the hobby, and in fact we're featuring more and more fiberglass boats, which now the Antique and Classic Boat Society has opened the doors and said, sure, we want these boats in too. So up through 1989, the Antique and Classic Boat Society is considering a collectible boat. And every year that'll move up. Next year it'll be 1990.
25 years and older then.
That's correct, yes. Now there's all kind of categories that you see here. There's historic, which goes up to 1919. We have over 100-year-old canoe. In fact, last year he was 100 years old even, and so 101 this year. So that's a historic item. Then we have the pre-wars, which are considered antiques, and they go from 1919 up through 1941. The classic boats from 42 are on up to this new category that we call late classics, which start at 75. So you got a mixture now of some of the older fiberglass boats that were very unique. They're kind of rudimentary, but they got fins, they got some beautiful stuff going on. So we've got a mixture for just all ages as far as what they would enjoy to see out here today.
We're accustomed to the car shows, the antiques and collectible automobiles, and you're experiencing some of the same issues that the car collectors are, as the owners are older.
Yes, that's right.
And by including the fiberglass boats, you hope to bring some new blood into the club?
Absolutely, and we're seeing that, as well as the younger generation, the kids of the parents that did all this stuff are now enjoying their boats, of course. So they kind of move up in ages, and we're seeing that, but there's still a great appreciation for the antique boats. We've got one over here, a 1939 called Sachet. In fact, it's on the back of my shirt, and it's our poster child. And that boat is totally original from 1939. If you get a chance to take a look at it, it is just stunning, and a good example of all the craftsmanship that was done back in those years. And then you get into the classics and some of the runabouts where the engines are covered over. Those are called runabouts as compared to the utilities. The utilities are like this one, where right after the war, Chris Craft recognized that people want to go fishing, they want more ease of handling, they want more people in their boats, so they designed an engine box to cover over the engine and allow a lot more space, and the utilities became the most popular boat being made. Right away, Century, number of the other manufacturers, Garwood, they all copied that idea, and utilities became really the more popular boat. The runabouts are a little flashier, a lot more chrome, a lot more varnish, and they're a lot harder to work in. But
I have another question, and that is when we get into, this is a judged event?
Yes, it is.
And when we get into the judging event, when we come back, we want to ask you what the judges look for on Is It Like Automobiles. Right after this, don't touch the remote, I'll break your fingers. Hi, welcome back to Handy Randy. Gil Maringer. Now, you're the director of this year's antique boat show here in Portage Lakes.
That's right, Randy.
And they hand that down from year to year? Somebody else gets suckered into that? Or?
That's pretty much the way it works. Although I've got a great team of guys, and we all just kind of share this role over the years. We've been doing it. And one guy will handle publicity, another guy will handle raising sponsors. I'm a chief judge as well, and I've done that for many years, and I'm also involved with a couple of our other guys that do international judging all over the country. So we've got a lot of experienced judges here, and folks that really know what's going on to put this show together.
So let me ask you this. When it comes to classic boats, there in automobiles, and again, I'm always going to refer to cars because that's what I know, and that is there's reproduction parts available for automobiles. Is it the same with the classic boats?
Not so much reproduction parts. Again, what you're dealing with primarily is wood. So you go buy a hunk of wood and replace it. The key is to make it look original. The really important thing that we emphasize is maintaining and keeping originality. That will ruin a boat. Somebody that puts a blower on the engine, for instance, or it just ruins the value. And ACBS has done a great job of emphasizing originality because we're trying to preserve what these boats really were. So when people restore these, there's a lot of us out there telling them, do this, do that, and you'll keep that original look. And that's what we're after.
And doing restoration on a boat, I guess you'd have to go from photographs to bring it back. Where do you start?
Well, again, a lot of that research. That boat right there, that Century Coronado, was left out in the field for many years, and what we called it a pattern. And the fellow that did that boat, and I'll introduce you to him later on, Ray McFarland, is just a woodworking master. He's built a number of these boats from a pattern. Take a piece off at a time, measure it, make it out of new wood, eventually put it all back together. Same way with the engines, get all those chrome pieces right, and that's the real restoration challenge, to get a boat like that in that kind of beautiful condition.
Do we try to use the same wood that the
Yes.
boat was made of?
Yes, most of these were Philippine mahogany. Some, after the war, the mahogany became pretty scarce, so they used different grades of it called Spanish cedar. Some boats are actually cedar. And then later on in years, in the 60s, they had a very tough time getting mahogany. It was just plain running out. And nowadays, you can get it on a repair basis, but it's very expensive. And but you still can get what you need.
Can we laminate the boats?
They are, and there's different methods that are used to put plywood behind the original planking. There's a lot of different methods to still get the appearance, but the main thing that we try to achieve is that original look, and we call it visual authenticity is what we're trying to preserve.
Well, you look like you're pretty authentic here and knowing what you're talking about. I think we're going to run into some pretty interesting stories here.
Oh, yeah.
And some absolutely beautiful craft. And thanks for inviting the Handy Randy Show to this event. And 39 years, you say, right here?
Right. Well, it's been around the Portage Lakes in different locations. I think we've been here about 12 or 15 years now.
And the restaurant keeps changing names, but you're still the same.
That's right. We're still here.
Thanks, Gil. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you, Randy.
We'll be back with more boat stuff right after this. welcome back to Handy Randy. I found somebody that watches my show, so of course we're going to do with the one person here that watches my show. So of course we're going to do an interview with him. Walt Staskew.
How you doing, Randy?
Thanks for having us here today.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Now you are one of the judges.
Yes.
You'll be active today.
Yes, I will. Mm-hmm.
So where do you get the expertise to learn to be a judge of this?
You apprentice with other judges, so you go to a show and you ask to tag along and shadow a judge, and then you pick up the points. You do a lot of reading, and then you go to local shows like this and volunteer to be a judge. And once you pick it up and once people trust you, then you get accredited as a judge.
And when did you become interested in antique boats?
Oh boy, let's see, I grew up on Portage Lake, so I was always interested in them.
Okay.
But I bought my first one in 1973.
And this beauty that you have here came from out of state. Tell us about
It came from New York. It was a New York boat that a guy wanted to do for his own boat, for he and his wife. He had several boats, but this was his favorite. It's a 2.5-year restoration by Dan Dannenberg in Manistee, Michigan, a guy who's renowned in the industry for restorations. And like all of us, he's getting older, and his wife became ill, and she could no longer get in and out of the boat. I've been asking him to buy this boat for 6 years, and he finally said, if you're still interested, let's talk. So I bought it from him in New York.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have Chevrolet, you have the Impala, the Bel Air. Chris Craft, you have different models.
Yes,
correct?
Yes. Sportsman would be the Biscayne, and the Impala would be something like a Continental. But this is as decked out as a Continental gets in 1956.
And if we walked into a new car dealership in '56, we could special order a car. We could special order the interior, the color, the engine, the driveline, so forth.
Yes.
A boat dealer would offer the same thing?
Yes, he would. There were a list of options for the boat. This is an interesting one because the guy who bought the boat originally didn't want any blonde wood on it, so he had a blonde Elite. He picked a Holiday windshield off another boat, and they installed it for him. And it came with a Ford Interceptor 308, which is not even listed in Chris Craft's literature. So it was a very unusual engine, and unfortunately, they lost track of the engine, so we don't have it in the boat. We've got a 283 Chevy.
Now, Gil tells us that mahogany is very difficult to obtain.
Yes, it is.
You were fortunate enough that you're a restoration expert. When he sees mahogany on the market, he knows to buy it.
They go after it with a passion, and yes, and he did, and this is all book matched. So when they cut a board, that board is designed to be on one side of the boat, and the other side of the board is on the other side. So book match mahogany is probably the best restoration you could get, and the guy knows what he's doing when he's doing that.
And finally, you said that when this boat was built, there were some changes made to the cookie stamp boat.
Yes.
When the judges come along, and you just mentioned, well, we have a different windshield.
Yeah.
This model's supposed to have blonde wood on it. The judges will take points away from you?
They will, but what you do is you bring the documentation with you if you're going to have your boat judged. So through the Mariners Museum, you can gather, they have all the Chris Craft records, you can gather the build sheets. So you bring all that documentation with you so you can show them on the build sheet. It had a blonde Elite, it's got a Holiday windshield, it's got a Ford 308 in it, and they say, okay, so then everything's all right. But if you can't substantiate it, you're up for grabs with a judge, and you're dependent on his knowledge.
And a good judge knows those things.
That's right.
And looks at the build sheet.
That's right.
And then finally, I know that I have a 37 Buick, and I don't like to take it out often.
Right.
And I don't take it very far. What about using your boat?
I have two cars too. I've got a 55 Chevy and a Corvette, and they don't get used enough, right? But if you can't use these things, it's a sin just to keep. They'll dry out, they'll rot, just like anything will that it's stored. And I use it. That's why I bought it, to enjoy it.
Well, it's a beautiful. It's art. It's really art.
Well, thanks for coming over and taking a look at it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We'll be back with more boats and the lakes right after this. You know, if you bought a Cadillac in 58, 59, you could buy the lower series all the way up at the upper series. Buicks were the same way. You could buy the LeSabre, but you could also buy the Limited.
Right.
When it came to these classic boats, somewhat the same.
Pretty much the same, yeah. The Coronado was the top of the line in these boats, yeah.
And this one, from what I understand, we call cars barn finds.
Right.
There's a different terminology for boats.
Well, you can call it a barn find or a field find. This one was a field find.
It was in pretty disarray.
Yeah, it was ready for the burn pile.
But you opted not to do that, fortunately.
Yeah, I'm the guy that can save them if anybody can. Yeah.
Tell us what we went through to bring this boat back to life again.
Well, a complete restoration on the boat had to be done. All the woodwork had to be replaced. The chrome is redone, the upholstering's redone, gauges are redone, steering wheel. It's a big process, just like an old car. You know, it takes a lot of time and money to restore one. You gotta love to do it. You know.
I understand that new old parts are available.
Yeah,
because someone had the sense enough to buy those when the company went out.
Right. Yeah. The company where these boats were sold, the company did have a lot of replacement parts, and there is guys out there that look for field finds, and then they strip them and sell parts on eBay. You have to watch for. Lucky, most of the chrome parts were with this boat. There was only a few pieces that I had to hunt for, so that was a big plus when you want to do one. You want to find one that hasn't been completely stripped, because some of the parts are getting hard to find. The more rare the boat, the harder it is to find. You know.
And you named the boat after your granddaughter.
Right, that's the youngest granddaughter, and probably the last one that'll come along. So. It was nice to name it after her. And if we win some little plaque or award, she's 9 years old, we give it to her, and it really makes her day.
She got to love riding in Grandpa's boat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they all do.
Now, Ray McFarland from Newton Falls, so Berlin Reservoir is pretty close to you?
Lake Melton is the lake of our choice. If we just want to go out and run around, go out in the evening, I try to stay off the lake in the weekend, but go out in the evening and it's nice and calm and nice place to run them, you know.
So absolutely gorgeous piece. Again, thank you so much for sharing your find, your field find, and good work on bringing it back. So guess what? We can enjoy it, and hopefully our grandchildren and great-grandchildren can enjoy it.
I hope so.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
I'm with John Voorhees. He tells me his job today is just walk around and look good. Well, you're doing an excellent
yeah,
job.
I do.
John.
I've been practicing for a long, long time there.
We're doing registration today.
Yeah, I guess, we got a committee this year that's working on it. It's 4 of us. We've pretty much been involved putting the show on for our antique chapter, the North Coast chapter, in conjunction with the Historical Society. So the 4 of us have lived around here and worked on this, so we team up. And but my responsibility is taking out the registration, sending out the application forms, and getting all the last-minute phone calls and things like that. So
we have some land lovers that watch the show in Coshocton,
okay,
Millersburg. There's just small rivers.
Right.
Real difficult to take boats out on those small rivers, but they may be interested in what you're doing here. And there's lakes everywhere in Ohio.
Right.
So someone that's watching this show right now and says, "Boy, You know what? We have a boat in the family that's in a garage, or we've got an uncle that we might be able to acquire a boat, or something like that. What steps would that person need to take to contact you, or even come to meetings? What would happen, John?
You know, the our chapter, which is called the North Coast Ohio, our region is northeastern Ohio. It's part of the Antique and Classic Boat Society that has about 50 chapters in it. We have a website, northcoastohio.org. You can see about the club, membership registration, or acbs.com is for the national organization, and you can see what the national offers. But it's a great opportunity. They have a catalog, a book of all the members, and there's cross references to see someone else may have a boat that you have, and can get information, background. So it's just kind of like a fraternal organization to help each other restore, maintain boats, and have fun in them. So.
And your boat now doesn't necessarily have to be out of teak and mahogany. Now, someone that's got a somewhat newer boat, 25 years and older, those boats are around.
Right.
Now they can actually join the club.
Right. In fact, I guess the Antique and Classic Boat Society has done some, soul-searching research and saying, hey, we've got to find a way to get, younger people involved, under 50.
Yeah.
And, some of them don't remember the wood boats, but they remember some of the fiber classics. So they've created, even for judging, good standards for fiber classic, and that's the way to come on. Not official yet, but we're going to have some discussion about making the feature boat next year fiber classics. So that'll be the feature boats, where this year the feature boats are utilities. So you'll see more and more of them there. So good.
John Voorhees, one of the chiefs in charge here at this classic boat show and judging, and you've delegated that responsibility elsewhere too. Good job, John.
Okay, thank you. All right, good meeting.
Bud and Ginger Long in front of their beautiful antique boat, and I know the first thing I noticed when I walked up, the name of the boat. Bud, there's got to be a story.
There is. I was in the Air Force. I was stationed in Alpena, Michigan. I went into a place where a lot of people had a favorite watering hole, and I saw a pair of eyes looking at me, and I went over and asked them to dance. And the next thing I knew, I got a phone number. She asked me if I wanted to go for a boat ride, and I said, sure. So went out, and next thing I knew after that was I was living in Ohio with 2 kids and a mortgage. And so that boat was our first date ever.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah,
the first date.
good.
Now, Ginger, so it sounds like Ginger picked you up.
She did.
She did.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I was not. In fact, I had girlfriends from Akron, and I told them, because it was a summer base for the National Air Guard, I told them to come up, you'll find a guy. So I was the only one that ended up hooking up, so it was funny. And it was my grandfather's boat, so it really was. It's been a one-owner boat, so it was always at Michigan, and then we brought it down to Portage Lakes, about 35 years ago.
Yeah, we've been married 46 years, and the boat is a 59, so
Yeah.
same boat, same lady.
And
I've been married 46 years, 5 times. So I had them together.
then next year we might put last date on there.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Now, you say this is a grandfather's. A lot of these boats seem like
Right.
they originated. A lot of Michigan connections.
It was,
with
I
these
think it
boats.
was in Algonac.
Yeah, this was built in
Yeah.
Algonac.
Yeah, which is where they were originated from.
And over the years, has the boat seen a lot of love and restoration and care, or how do we keep it so beautiful?
Well, it's been restored 4
We're
times.
talking the boat, not Ginger.
Yeah, well,
no,
now
no.
go on. I'm original.
It's
No.
gone through 4 formal restorations. We sunk it once, and we hit a deer 3 years ago coming out of Lake Chautauqua in New York and tore both windshields and the Ivolite off the front of it. So it got another little restoration after that.
We figured we bought 3 cars restoring it.
I
So
see.
that tells you the deal with boats. So.
Now, when an organization like this, and there's other clubs throughout, the United States, you try to take your boat and travel and visit other clubs and put it in the water.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere you get a chance.
Yeah.
And
We do. We're a traveling club. Our North Coast Ohio chapter, we have a lot of people that travel their boats, and this year we're going to Smith Mountain and down in the TVA area of Tennessee, and then from there we're going to Skaneateles, New York. So, and that's the international show. So
We're excited because this will be the first year that it
we
gets
want
to
to
go.
put the boat in an international show one time just to say we did.
so I was right about that, the name of the boat, and obviously that was something grandfather didn't have on the boat.
No,
he didn't have that
no,
in mind for
it was the first boat that my grandfather had was Miss Ginger. So that, and I don't, it was like, what did we figure out, a 49 or something?
51.
51. And when he bought this boat, he never named it because he just didn't. So when we got it down here at Portage Lakes, it wasn't named. And I think we named it like, what, maybe 10 years ago?
Oh yeah, longer than that.
Yeah, so we just decided, we came up, how are we going to get a name? And so that was sort of the easiest choice.
So the moral of this story, ladies, if you're out after, want to hook up with a man, you join the club, you buy yourself a nice
That's
mahogany
right.
boat.
That's right. And you pretend like you can't start it. And then you'll have all kinds of guys. They're not necessarily single, but you'll have all kinds of guys that want to help you.
Because there's no end of experts.
No. You just have to play dumb.
Yes, that's it. Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
an
thank
incredible
you.
story, and you're a wonderful couple. Congratulations on 46
Yeah.
years.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, welcome back to Handy Randy. Not all of the boats are in the water. Some of them are stationed across the street from the harbor, on Tap Harbor. With me, Jack Lynette, and a very unusual craft here, Jack.
Yes, it's a gravette disappearing propeller boat. It has a housing in it, and it's designed for the Canadian waters. And it has a skeg in front of the propeller, and if you hit a rock or you hit a tree stump or something, it'll ride up into the boat, disappear, and then go back down again. It's a direct drive engine. There's no transmission, no clutch, but the Canadians just loved it. It's very stable, very secure. I've seen a photograph of something like 14 guys standing in this boat, and it's still in the water. It's a great boat.
Where did you find it?
I found it. I had a place in Canada for 33 years, and I got to know the Canadian people. My folks were from Canada, and I was really fascinated by them, and so I joined the Dispro Club before I ever owned a boat. And as a result of that, I found it through a connection with someone in the club.
It looks more on a utility basis
Yes.
rather than a luxury craft.
That's right. And you see, it has a mother-in-law seat in the back there, and she gets the umbrella to keep the sun off of her, but the rest of us had to stay in the sun.
And only found in the Canadian waters. What's she made out of?
It's made out of cedar and mahogany. These seats are all mahogany, and they're one-piece mahogany. And the cedar lap strake on the sides of them, and all clinker nails, like the linemen's build it. The nail goes in and turns, and then they hammer it from both sides. And the restoration is impossible. You got to cut them off. Yeah. But very, very rare. And the interesting thing is that in the Antique and Classic Boat Society, we're an educational society, and we're not a go-fast club. And so as a result, boats like this that people get a chance to see and touch and listen to and read about, those are the things that are the educational part of it.
And I mentioned a utility boat. Probably not a lot left because they were used up.
Oh, that's
they beat
right,
them
yes.
up. They used them. I would think that they use them for a lot of a lot of fishing in all the lakes and.
Oh yes, and in addition, you'll see a farm road that runs back to a house, and one will be out front planted with dirt and flowers in it. So,
breaks your
so
heart.
see, oh yes, yes, definitely, yeah.
Well, I've got to be honest with you. I've never seen one. Never seen one. Maybe photographs, hadn't paid any attention.
Well,
So
that's
what
the educational part of it. See,
He's helped us all. I know a few loons, but this is the first loon boat that I've ever seen. So
well, the loon is a low, gangly, slow bird, and I think maximum on this is 6 miles an hour.
oh my! So, yeah. We're not going to get out of the way of this one. But thank you so much.
Okay.
It's an incredible, beautiful piece of art.
Okay, that's what it is. Thank you.